Hello, Paul Sabo, Christian Evangelist with GospelProof.com. I put this video together today. I noticed some people in the comment section having a little debate and indirectly had a question. How could Moses have wrote the book of Genesis? I understand that question. The book of Genesis covers over 2,255 years. It starts with God creating the world, and like I said, that's a long time. There's no way Moses was around during all those time periods. How could he have possibly written it all and it be true? Well, I know the answer to it, and that's what I want to share with you. It made me think of something I learned in ministry school. One of my courses was an Old Testament survey course, and I got some verses. I actually went back and wrote down these verses. Some I want to show you in the book of Genesis. It'll help you figure that out. But outside of that, first thing I want to say is, with Moses, God spoke to Moses one-on-one unlike he did to any other prophet. It tells you that in the Bible. A lot of prophets, he spoke to them in dreams and stuff like that. In the book of Numbers, chapter 12, it talks about how he didn't speak to Moses in dreams. He spoke to him face to face and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you a couple verses just so I can prove it. We'll look at Exodus. Book of Exodus, chapter 33, verse 9. It says, "As Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord talked with Moses." And it continues in verse 11 to say, "And the Lord spoke unto Moses face to face, as a man spoketh with his friend." See, Moses was the only one that the Lord would speak that closely with, but he did speak to Moses one-on-one as a friend, which, in all honesty, that there alone would be a good enough reason for Moses to have been able to write the book of Genesis and it be accurate, truthfully. But taking into consideration some other things that can be learned in the Bible, we can get a better idea of how he was able to write it. I would say that he didn't just write it, he basically rewrote it and put it together. See, if you look through, you might want to write down these verses because they're kind of handy to have to show other people. I looked them up in my notes from school because I didn't feel like looking them all up. But throughout the book of Genesis, it tells you different generations throughout. And as you know, there are throughout Jesus' bloodline, from Adam through Noah to Moses, Abraham, to throughout the whole bloodline, God always told his people to write, you want to call them Bibles or journals, or they always documented everything. And as you can tell from how we have the Bible itself, that's a combination of all these journals and stuff all being organized and put together. Well, as the Bible was put together, I think it's pretty clear that that's how Genesis was put together. It says in these verses, now, don't get me wrong, it's obvious that chapter 1 of Genesis, how God created the world in 6 days, rested the seventh, obviously, that was either something that God told Moses or something that God told one of his other prophets that that they had wrote in their journals because let me show you. For instance, chapter 2, verse 4, it says, "These were the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created." Like I said, along with chapter 1, obviously, only God could have wrote that stuff. But if you look out throughout the whole book of Genesis, it keeps telling you, these are chapter 5, verse 1, these are the generations of Adam. Chapter 6, verse 9, these are the generations of Noah. Chapter 10, verse 1, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 11, verse 10. These are the generations of Shem. Chapter 11, verse 27. These are the generations of Terah. Chapter 25, verse 12. These are the generations of Ishmael, who was Abraham and Hagar's, that's Sarah's stepmaid, when Abraham had a baby with Hagar. Ishmael, he obviously did some writings, or some of his logs were used in it. And it continues with chapter 5, verse 19. These are the generations of Isaac, who was Abraham's other son with Sarah. And chapter 36, verse 1, and it also says it in chapter 36, verse 9, that these are the generations of Esau. And finally, chapter 37, verse 2, these are the generations of Jacob, who was later named Israel and was the father of the tribes of Israel. So as you can see, and if you think about it, somebody would have had to have taken all these notes and letters and, all the writings from these people and during their generations and organized it all, because over that much of a time period, the paper would have been, turning the dust basically, and plus there was probably different languages. He had to modernize the language, but basically when it says Moses wrote Genesis, it's pretty obvious with taking what Genesis tells us and what else we can learn from the Bible, that he basically rewrote it. He took different scriptures that were passed on throughout Jesus' bloodline, starting with Adam, going all the way through Jacob, who was the father of the tribes of Israel. And all of their scriptures, obviously they kept them all, because they've always kept them all throughout all the generations of Jesus' bloodline throughout the Bible. And that's Moses basically just organized them and put them all together in one book. So it wasn't like it wasn't like Moses just sat down under a tree and sat there and wrote the book of Genesis. It's nothing like that. And it basically tells us that if you look. So some interesting facts. I think it's neat. You might want to write those verses down and check it out for yourself. Look them up in the book and you'll understand. And then if you reread Genesis while going through those and paying attention to those, it'll make more sense in a whole different way to you too. So anyways, just want to answer that question in case anybody wonders how Moses could have possibly written Genesis. Here you go. And so hopefully this was a blessing to you. I'll see you Sunday with our regularly scheduled Bible study. Thanks for watching.